Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today I want to do my most carried knives of sort of May, June. For those of you who are new subscribers and haven't seen any of this before, what I do is about every 4 to 6 weeks I'll do a video kind of overviewing the stuff that's been in my pocket the most over that period of time, okay? So it's kind of an eclectic mix. And that just reflects how I carry. This came from me having a number of attempts to sort of pick a top 10 or top 5 favorite knives or most carried knives. And I realized I just couldn't do it because I sort of favor certain knives for a while and then they kind of take a break, and I'll favor some other ones for a while and then they kind of take a break, and it just rotates through. And so what I decided to do instead of sort of a top favorite is kind of here are my favorites right now, and every month and a half or so kind of update that with, hey, this is the stuff that's been in my pocket most over this period of time. So that's what we're going to do. I do have one slight deviation from that plan for this video. I'm going to give you a couple of knives here that are upcoming reviews that I want to just comment on briefly, so you'll kind of have a bit of a preview as well as what I've been carrying most. And these have been obviously in my pocket a lot because I want to review them. So let's start with that. First off is the Cold Steel Pro Light. I've been carrying this and using it, and it's actually been really good. What I'm going to do is when I review this, it's a little smaller than I had hoped, I will say that. But you know, it's very lightweight, very convenient for an EDC knife, and the blade shape is rather useful. What I'm going to do when I review this is get some other knives in similar budget steels and do a bit of a cut test. So I'll have some cardboard here, and I'm going to do a bunch of cuts with this and a couple of others, probably Spyderco Tenacious and a Rat Model 1, which I don't have here to show you. But then I'm going to do a bunch of cutting, and we're going to compare sharpness and do a little bit of an assessment on this German 4116 steel, because a lot of people, myself included, are not that familiar with it. So for now, all I can say is I've been using this, I've been carrying this knife and cutting stuff with it, and it's holding up well. I mean, in terms of just being useful, I haven't noticed, and a cheap steel, you know, you'll notice right away, like, holy cow, I cut 2 things and it's already dull. This is miserable. It's not been that bad, okay? But that'll be coming up. Another knife that's on the list that's a fairly budget-friendly knife is this one. This is a CRKT Amicus. I will say I kind of missed grabbing this knife right away when it came out to retailers because I didn't realize the size on it. You know, when you look at it in pictures, it doesn't look like it would be any bigger than the previous Voxnest collaborations with Boker and Viper knives. And so, you know, those, I liked the design, I just thought they were a little too small. This one is actually bigger. It's a little over 8 inches and very, very nice. So yeah, it is a stainless steel frame lock, which makes it a little heavy. I'll comment specifically on that in the review, but I will say this, in terms of just, you know, overall general impression, I'm actually pretty impressed with this knife. I'm quite happy with it. There are some little issues and there are some real successes that I'll get into specifically, but overall I actually have been really enjoying carrying this knife. One more, now this is in a different class from the others. This is the Brian Ty Mid-Tech, the Brian Ty and Friends Ty Fighter. I have been carrying this knife a fair bit. I've had it for about a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks. I really, really like it. It's incredibly ergonomic. The blade shape is quite useful. And of course, extremely cool looking, right? Very attractive blade. Now let me say this, the secondary bevel on this was a little messed up. And because of that, I'm gonna send it back and get a new one. But David at Brian Ty and Friends, great guy, really, really helpful. By the way, if you're interested in one of these, do not let my bad experience put you off. I'm literally the only one that I know of that had anything that's not totally perfect in terms of their experience with these knives. What I'm going to do is, David said, hey man, look, I've got no blades now, we're totally sold out, but there'll be some coming in from Heat Treat in, you know, 3 weeks to a month. So in the meantime, carry the knife, use the knife, don't worry about it, and then when everything's good to go, I will get in touch and we can switch that blade out for you. So that's what I've been doing, and I will say this is a very, very cool knife. And in some ways, because I know this knife is going back, I don't have to be quite as careful with it. And so I've probably used this somewhat differently than I would if it was perfect right out of the box. Anyway, that review will be coming up and I'll probably discuss a little bit more the very, very good customer service that I've been experiencing with Brian Tye and Friends. All right, now let's get into my most carried knives. I'm gonna kind of go, from the lower end to the higher end, not for any particular reason other than, just to kind of organize the knives in some way. And I'm not going to be strict about price or anything, but here's a good one that's been in my pocket quite a bit. With the warmer weather, you don't always want something as heavy, or sometimes you're wearing lighter clothing. And so yeah, the American Lawman I've used a fair bit recently because it's very light and very small. So you can carry this, in whatever, your lightweight track pants or whatever you want, and you don't have any issues. So I have been carrying this. Very, very good knife. Still love it as much as I ever did. Excellent, excellent blade. Recently picked up a Fossil again. I've had a Fossil with the VEF Serrations, and I was interested in trying the Plain Edge. And so great knife. I don't think there's, a lot of people have reviewed this knife and looked at it, and, it is a real achievement from CRKT. Not only is it absolutely gorgeous to look at, it's very well built, it's very functional, and it's actually reasonable in terms of weight for size. Okay, this is a pretty large knife, even though it's not super duper heavy. Let's see, while we're still with some of these knives, here is my Spyderco Pacific Salt. This is of course the serrated version. This knife, I have had it at the house and been carrying it a little bit. Normally it rides in my bunker gear, but I took it out for a little bit because I wanted to clean it up. And also I had a neighbor who really wanted to try it. He does some diving and wanted to check out something from Spyderco that was in the Salt series. So I brought it so that he could check it out and see what he thought of it in case he wants to get one for himself. Another knife, and this is a knife that I cannot seem to help but carry. This is one of those blades that is just too cool. It's ergonomic, it's well built, it's functional. The blade with that super high flat grind is very, very slicey. It's just a really useful knife, and I find myself going back and picking this one up and carrying it quite a lot. I haven't said the name yet. This is the Kaiser Roach. Sorry about that. Great knife, Matt Dagnan design, and I really, really enjoy this knife. And of course, I love the bright orange handle scales on it. It just gives it an extra bit of, pizzazz, I guess. So very, very cool blade. A little heavy maybe for some people to EDC, but I don't mind it at all. It's around 6 ounces. Anyway, flips great. Very good budget offering from Kaiser. We're kind of moving up the price scale here a little bit, so we'll get into a few knives now. I picked up a Domino recently. This is a great knife, and I honestly feel like, Spyderco's come out with a number of blades recently. Every once in a while, they do something that is exceptional. I think the Gale Bradley 2 is an example. I think some of the changes they made to the military recently are a good example. But the Domino is one of those great designs. It's extremely well done. Really, really cool knife. Deploys very well. It's comfortable in hand. Just everything, Eric Lesser really nailed it with the Domino. My only complaint would be the size. I wish this knife were about an inch bigger. Okay, it doesn't need to be huge. Of course, I love it if it were the same size as, the Manix 2XL or something, but even just an extra inch to this knife would make a big difference, and I would like it a lot more, and I already absolutely love it. And of course, this is the Bento Box Shop exclusive in CTS 204P, which does make it just a little bit cooler, right? Now I've got a couple of knives here that have been knives that I've really loved. Some of them I've reviewed more recently. Most of them I like because you see them on Instagram, you see them in other videos. This is the Benchmade Crooked River. This I think is the best thing to come from Benchmade in a long time. It's big, it's comfortable, the blade shape is awesome. S30V, I honestly love this knife. It is very, very good. And the only thing that I would say is some people may not like the look. I know, in modern folders, you don't usually do bolsters. Now, I will say this, I was definitely into the gray one right away. Others have pointed out, and I think the Apostle and maybe Cutlery Lover have pointed out that the wood with the bright orange, yeah, it doesn't do much for me. Now, I think the gray with the bright orange looks really, really cool. So, yeah, big fan of this knife. Honestly, I really will say I think this is the best thing that Benchmade has done in a while. Okay, love this knife. Now, this is our second Voxness collaboration. This is the Zero Tolerance 0220. And this was a knife that initially, if you go back and watch my most anticipated for 2016, this wasn't on the list. But once I started seeing some people using it, and I saw some reviews and I saw some Instagram pics, I was able to ask a couple people what they thought of theirs, and people were really impressed. And I just sort of, it just sort of grew on me over time without owning one. Now, so I think, I don't know, one reviewer said once they had one in hand, they started to like it more. And I can see why. This is a really, really ergonomic knife. Great design along those lines. But to me, it was before that. I started to just appreciate the lines in it more, the smooth kind of simple design. And it kind of reminds me of another knife. Once I got this knife, in some ways, it kind of pushed me toward this one. I realized how much I appreciated this very simple design with not a lot going on. And it kind of made me go, yeah, that 220 might be more appealing than I thought, and just sort of grew on me. And now, yeah, super, super impressed. I actually may do a comparison between these two knives because there's actually a lot in common between them. So both of these have been in my pocket an awful lot. This 0220 and the Real Steel S571. This is honestly a great knife. If you're into titanium frame locks, and if you'd like to be able to carry something that, has a lot of high-end features and materials, but doesn't break the bank, this is honestly a great option. I put this in my pocket a whole lot because, I find I can carry this on days when I say, I don't know if I want to carry something more expensive like this. Okay, but I still want something nice, and this is a really good sort of middle ground. Doesn't cost you as much as this one, even though it has a lot of the same features and a lot of the same functionality. So, since we've got it out, I may as well show you the last two blades that I want to share with you are these two. The Custom Knife Factory Sequoia, such a gorgeous knife, and Custom Knife Factory is doing kind of something special, right? They're offering knives that are about the highest level of quality that you're going to get, and have some really cool features. This knife is something you would sort of expect to be coming from a custom maker, right? And it's a production knife that you can own for a moderate price. Okay, yeah, it's not $50 at Walmart, but it's not $5,000 or even $1,000, right? You're talking, $300-400 for a knife that's comparable to a lot of $600, $700, $800, $1,000 knives. So really, really cool offering from Custom Knife Factory. And then coming back and touching on the Reate Knives Torrent, another great blade. There you go, guys. That's the phone, and we will talk to you soon.